The Inland Empire can look like pure expansion from the freeway. Warehouses stretch across the valley floor. Housing pushes farther east. Truck routes stay busy. New retail clusters keep appearing where the region used to feel peripheral. From a distance, it can seem like Southern California's overflow zone finally became its own powerhouse. But the Inland Empire only makes sense when you read both sides of the ledger at once. On one side, this region is essential. It is one of the most important logistics landscapes in the country. Goods moving through the ports, across freeways, through rail yards, and into distribution networks do not simply pass by the Inland Empire. They depend on it. The region has become a core part of how Greater Los Angeles, and really much of the national consumer economy, functions day to day. On the other side, the very system that made the Inland Empire indispensable also produced a harder local reality. Freight intensity, long commutes, uneven job quality, rising rent pressure, and infrastructure stress all land somewhere specific. They land in communities where people are trying to build ordinary lives. That is the story that gets flattened when the region is described only as affordable or up-and-coming. The Inland Empire grew in part because coastal Southern California became too expensive and too constrained for many households and businesses. Land was cheaper inland. Warehousing could scale. Developers could build more. Families priced out of Los Angeles and Orange County could still imagine ownership by moving east. In that sense, the Inland Empire was not a separate story. It was the spatial consequence of the larger Southern California system. That relationship is still visible now. Even recent regional analysis points out that a large share of the Inland Empire's workforce continues to commute to jobs in adjacent coastal counties. That matters because it means the region is not simply a self-contained jobs-housing balance. For many households, it is still part opportunity, part compromise, and part release valve for higher-cost metros to the west. The logistics base strengthened that role. Warehouses and distribution facilities brought investment, tax base, and employment. They also changed the physical character of the region. Large-format industrial development, truck traffic, intermodal movement, and pressure on freight corridors became defining features of the landscape. In planning terms, goods movement became a regional asset. In lived terms, it also became a daily condition. That distinction is crucial. A region can be strategically important and still locally uneven. In fact, that is often the pattern. Public documents from Southern California planners keep returning to a similar point. The Inland Empire does not just need more jobs. It needs more quality jobs. That wording tells you a lot. It suggests that raw employment totals are not enough to explain how secure or upwardly mobile the region actually feels. Housing deepens the tension. The Inland Empire still tends to look less expensive than the coast. But relative affordability is not the same as durable affordability. When rents keep rising, when mortgage costs remain elevated, and when household budgets also absorb long transportation expenses, the regional bargain starts to change. A place can remain cheaper than Los Angeles while still becoming hard on working households. That is why transportation belongs in the housing story. For many residents, the cost of place is not just rent or mortgage. It is the full commute burden. Time, fuel, or on vehicles. Unpredictable freeway conditions and fragmented transit all shape how far a paycheck really goes. In regions like this one, geography does not merely organize land use. It organizes stress. There is also an environmental trade-off built into the Inland Empire model. Freight movement is economically powerful, but it comes with air quality concerns, land consumption, and community conflict over where warehouses should keep going. This does not make logistics illegitimate. It just means the benefits and burdens are distributed unevenly. Some actors capture regional efficiency. Others live next to the circulation system that makes that efficiency possible. What makes the Inland Empire such a strong local gravity subject is that it exposes how American regional success can be structurally lopsided. This is not a forgotten place. It is not even a weak place in the usual sense. It has scale, economic relevance, and population heft. But relevance alone does not create local balance. A region can matter enormously to a wider economy while still struggling to deliver stable, everyday advantages to many of its own residents. That is why the warehouse debate is ultimately about more than buildings. It is about what kind of regional future the Inland Empire is being asked to carry. If the area remains a crucial logistics backbone, can it also become a place with stronger wage ladders, better land use coordination, and a more manageable relationship between home location and work location? Or does it stay locked into a model where expansion keeps happening, but much of the gain leaks elsewhere? Recent economic updates suggest the region's outlook has become more mixed. Job gains have narrowed into a smaller set of sectors. Rent pressure has not disappeared. Housing may improve somewhat if financing eases. But that is not the same thing as a structural reset. The Inland Empire is still growing. But growth now sits inside a more demanding economic climate than the one that fueled its earlier surge. This is the part national narratives often miss. The Inland Empire is not simply an inland boomtown. And it is not just a warehouse cautionary tale either. It is a regional machine built out of Southern California's housing shortage, port geography, freeway logic, labor demand, and land availability. Its strengths are real. So are its frictions. Both are products of the same system. If you want to read the future of the region, watch three things. First, whether job quality improves relative to the region's sheer employment scale. Second, whether housing production and affordability become less dependent on farther exurban spillover. Third, whether freight planning and community planning start looking more integrated instead of colliding parcel by parcel. Because the deeper issue here is not whether the Inland Empire matters. That question was settled years ago. The real issue is whether one of America's most strategically important regional landscapes can stop being treated as a place that only absorbs pressure from somewhere else. If it cannot, the region will keep growing in ways that feel economically necessary but socially incomplete. And that is the hidden cost of advantage. The Inland Empire won a larger role in the Southern California map. What it has not fully secured is a version of that role that feels balanced on the ground. The warehouses, freeways, and rooftops tell you the region is important. The harder question is whether importance is being converted into a stronger everyday place. That answer is still being negotiated.